Well, we're going to see Parliament back on Thursday. It did rise for the year, but the government has scrambled together a solution, it thinks, to the energy crisis, and it needs to pass Parliament. Joining me live is Australian Financial Review political editor Phil Coorey for his regular Monday spot. Like me, you're working towards the bitter end, I suppose they call it. Before we get into the politics, will this work? Will it deliver savings and enough savings to sort of take the edge off people, but also businesses that use gas?
Yeah, well, you can only go by what the numbers the Treasury gave us on Friday. It won't make your power bill lower. It will just stop it going up by as much as it otherwise would have. So your electricity, just because of the caps on gas and coal, your power bill would have gone up 63% over this year and next. That's now going to go up by 47% this year and next, which is about $230 a household, and then that'll go down further when they work out over the summer how much discount you get on your electricity bill if you're a lower middle income household. So, and the gas thing is much better. Instead of going up by 20% next year, it will go up by just 4%. So I think manufacturers will welcome that for sure.
And then the Parliament aspect, is it a bit of bluff here?
Yeah.
I mean, the Greens are upset because coal companies are getting compensated.
Well, let's break that down, Tom. I mean, every power generator in New South Wales and Queensland using coal, contracted coal, is doing it already for under that price cap, except for one power station, the Coorey power station in New South Wales, because they, for whatever reason, they don't have a contract and they're buying it off the spot market. So they're paying about $200. So whoever's providing that coal to Coorey, I think it's Centennial, I have to check, would be entitled to some compensation. We're not talking across the broad compo for all these coal companies. We're talking about one provider, about 4 million tonnes a year as it stands. So Dominic Perrottet, the New South Wales Premier, made that a condition, an absolute non-negotiable condition of his support for the National Cabinet deal, that there be compo, which is fair enough. Otherwise, these people, they're selling, at a market price, and if you're going to force it down, then they're entitled. What if they decided to shut their coal mine or scale it back? So that's where Adam banned.
And that's because that mine's particularly affected.
Well, because they're selling on the spot market, right?
So that's where, because then you'll have the gas companies going, yeah, we'll do the same thing, we're affected.
Yeah, but it's only uncontracted gas.
Yeah,
this is the difference.
And it's only for the domestic market, which is about 5% is used domestically. So what do you make of the threats? It's a nationalisation. It'll shrink investment. Gas companies will leave. Would you believe?
Well, the trouble is they've cried wolf so much in the past. The gas companies. If you go back to the West Australian days, where Chevron told the West Australian government, "You make us set up a gas reserve, we won't be able to make ends meet, and these Northwest Shelf developments won't go ahead." And he called their bluff, and rightly so. So, look, I think they have cause to be concerned about the wording of the Code of Conduct, where it talks about. Now, the Code of Conduct is what happens when they negotiate a price with a gas seller with a customer. This is the thing Ed Hughes's been talking about for 2 months. Hasn't worked. It's been abused. It has to be given teeth, and they've certainly given it teeth by saying there will have to be a reasonable price. Now, on one hand, what Code of Conduct wouldn't have a reasonable price? What are you meant to say? You can rip them off. So that's all it says. The fine point's going to be thrashed out over the New Year period and into February before they regulate the detail. And I assume there's a bit of bluff going on. I don't think it's all one or the other, but as the minister said some months ago, Tom, these people have lost their social licence, or because of what they've been charging. They're not in it. There's not a great deal of sympathy for them. They'll still make enormous profits, but if they're warning about investment risks and so forth, I just think it's too early, but I can understand.
The big jumping up and down seems to be the more permanent marker, but even beyond the 12 months of reasonable price.
Yeah, that's the reasonable price.
You go, well,
the cap's not a worry.
Yeah, it is a bit weird. The government's setting a price. What's reasonable? Do they go elsewhere? But again, that's still only on domestic gas.
Yes.
So that's 5% of the gas. The other 95%, they're making a lot of money, and more here than elsewhere often, because our PRRT is on profit, and that means they profit shift and pay less. So.
That's right. And reasonable price. I mean, what this is basically toughening up the gas trigger. Right? The gas trigger was supposed to say, if there's not enough gas on the East Coast, we can force you to send more into the East Coast. Or if you don't do that, we'll make you take it of exports. This Code of Conduct is basically that with teeth, right? Now it's now saying we can now immediately direct you to put gas into the East Coast market at a reasonable price.
And the simplest element of this is keep making as much money as you want for now. We'll see if they move on the PRRT.
Which they will.
shipping it off, but we're not going to let you do that on domestic customers.
No, that's right.
And I know there are maybe some unintended consequences and more moving parts, and we'll see, but that's where we've arrived at in this.
Yes, that's right. And, well, the other option, of course, is to get more gas out of the ground, so there's enough for everybody, which,
Well, if you pump that up and they don't even, so the Narrabri or Beetaloo or Cinex or whatever it might be, and then they make even more money because they're shipping the excess overseas. So.
Well, sort of, but Narrabri, Santos has pledged that if they open Narrabri, it's all for the domestic market.
Yeah.
But you'd want to get that in.
But it might free up other gas, right?
Yeah, that means they can knock themselves off with knock themselves silly with all their Queensland gas and export the lot without any trigger threat or any need for the code of conduct.
So we'll see. Big campaign coming up, do you think?
How many times can you threaten it and not do it? I mean, I just think...
Apparently they've secured the money.
Off you go, knock yourselves... I think it's different, mate. It's different to the mining tax. The mining tax, we like the miners.
Well, coming out of the GFC...
Yeah, but we were all still relatively affluent. The economy was going well. People weren't on their knees. This time there's an element of villainy now about these people, and I don't think there's public sympathy there for them this time.
Well, time will tell. Phil Coorey.
Who will bury the Undertaker, Thomas?
We'll see APIA as well. They're the peak body for gas suppliers, so they're up from midday. We'll take you to that news conference and hear what they've got to say.